Welcome back to this course, Introduction to the Java Programming Language, a presentation of coding boot camps. This is session 3, Introduction to Classes and Objects. So a brief recap. So far we've covered computer architecture. We've talked about architectures of applications, installing our IDE. We took a look at classes, very basic classes, main methods, and adding code to main methods. So now we are going to discuss in detail classes, objects, and methods, objects and instances, declaring and instantiating a Java object, declaring methods, the get and the set methods. So these are very, very similar to what you've used in C++ and .NET and other languages, initiating objects with constructors, and primitive types and reference types. Materials are just these PowerPoint slides. So what is an object? So an object is actually a specific type based on methods and attributes that we define. And we define them through the modeling of a real-world entity. So if you think about something like a car may have a color, a car may have the number of doors. We think about the data that we need, also the behavior we need, and we build the attributes as data, and we build the methods as behavior, or we build the methods as some type of functionality. We can see here other actions as well. So an attribute is that a descriptive part of the object. So it could be the name, it could be a size, it could be a color. An event could be some type of interaction between other objects and the user. Even a click of a button can be an event. So what is a class? A class is that user-defined type. It is a model of a real-world entity. And we look to define that real-world entity through properties, such as data, different integers, different booleans, different strings. Certainly a person can be a class, and what we would do is we look to model that person in the way that we need them modeled, maybe with a name, maybe with a certain identification number. Same thing again with the car class. We look to model the car class in what we need, possibly the color, possibly the make. Is it a truck? Is it more of a four-door? Those are the things that we would need to work with our application architects to develop. So what is a constructor? Constructor is a method in a class. There's always a constructor, even if one is not specifically defined. There is what we call an implicit constructor there. A constructor is that special method. It's named the same name as the class, and it is there to initialize data and other properties that we might have. So it is the first method to run as soon as a class is instantiated. So we can see here, what is a class? Well, again, in this case, you can see it's a model of a real-world object, in this case, a dog, and we have some attributes that we will need, that are certainly the dog attributes that we think we're going to need, and it has some methods, so some dog behavior that we think we are going to need, and we add all of that. We can't have obviously everything that describes a dog completely, but we just want to put in what we think we need. So this is going to be our dog class, and we can create several objects of type dog, all of which will share this data and have these methods. So object instances. So it's great to have a class, but we need that class to actually do something. So we create objects from these classes. So we instantiate those objects. So here you can see that we are declaring in this declaration a Fido of type dog. And this over here on the right is the constructor. So we're saying it's a new, we're saying Fido is of type dog, and we're saying we're using the new keyword, and we're passing in the constructor for the dog class. So Fido will have all of the data that we just saw for dog, plus all of those methods available to it. We can also create another dog. Same data will be there, the value can be different, and the way that the methods are called can also be different. So what is a class? Again, a class is that user-defined type. It's those that model of that real-world object. So it has that data and those attributes that model or describe that real-world object. When we create the object, we actually instantiate the class. So just like we saw in the previous slide, we are creating an object, Fido, that was of type dog. Here is the declaration of methods within a class. Notice I'm saying we're declaring a method within a class. So we're just seeing here the method. So we're not seeing the rest of the class here. A method has a header, and it also has visibility. So almost always public or private. It has a return type. There's always a return type. If the method doesn't return any data, we would have void there. It has the method name, and then it has the parameters in parentheses. And each parameter has a type, like we talked about. And then we have these parentheses where we add the code block for our method. The only required elements of a method declaration are the return type, which we'll have to have there, the name of the method, that pair of parentheses, either with parameters or no parameters, and then the curly braces for the code block. So more generally, methods declarations have these 6 components. So there is some modifier or visibility, so public or private, and we'll discuss that shortly. Again, there's some kind of a return type. If nothing is returned, it would be void. The method name, which we just saw, the parameter list in the parentheses, and if there are no parameters, we have the empty parentheses. Exception list, so we'll talk about this later, but we can anticipate certain errors that can be introduced, and we can actually trap those errors and manage those errors so we can have the application be much more robust as far as the user and as far as the system that it's running on, and we can handle that error. And then also the code block that goes between the curly braces. So this is what we are going to be doing for methods when we add our methods to our classes. Later on, we will take a closer look at methods in the exercise. So our next video is going to deal with something called encapsulation.